Our next guest is sounding the alarm on stagflation.
It's not inflation on the mind of our headliner today. It's a word that a lot of people don't like to use when you talk about all this. Ed Yardeni is the president of Yardeni Research, and it's the S word, the stagflation word. You really worried about that today?
I think we're in it.
What is unavoidable is stagflation.
So stagflation is a phrase that's being used more and more when it comes to the situation that we're facing here in the UK with rampant inflation. But what does stagflation actually mean? Well, stagflation is an amalgam of two words, stagnation and inflation. Now, think of it as, I don't know, Kim Ye, right? But in less sexy terms, more of an economic speak, if you will. Now, what does it actually mean and how do we actually get out of this? And Rishi Sunak is in a bit of a pickle trying to deal with this. But let's break it down into the two factors that contribute to stagflation. The first is low economic growth. Now, if you followed Rishi Sunak over the last week or so, he's been under a lot of pressure to introduce a windfall tax on the oil and gas producers to help people with the cost of living crisis, because the inflation numbers that we're seeing are being driven by the increase in energy costs, right? We saw that in April. We're going to have another one come along in October, which is going to be about 40%. So that's going to put the squeeze on people even further. Now, windfall tax on companies is not something that is out of the blue or out of the ordinary. It happened in 1997. Gordon Brown levied a windfall tax on a number of companies across a number of sectors. So this isn't virgin territory. This is stuff that we've actually done before. However, the oil and gas producers are lobbying. They sent a letter even today asking Rishi Sunak not to levy a windfall tax on them. Why? Because apparently they're going to be paying £8 billion in tax this year. And their reasoning behind this is that, well, look, we are going to be investing into future projects, renewable energy, so on and so forth. To which I say, well, if you don't invest in renewable energy moving forward, well, you're going to impact your business moving forward, and you're also going to deprive yourself of future income streams. The way the world is going, we're going towards renewable energy. So if you think that if you inflict or impose a windfall tax, we won't invest, well, you're doing yourself a disservice, period. That's my train of thought. But Rishi Sunak hasn't ruled this out, but he's reluctant to do this. Now, what he did do last week is he went to CBI and he actually said this.
Research from the Resolution Foundation and the LSE shows that lower capital per hour worked explains around half our productivity gap with France and Germany. On skills, our school and university performance has improved dramatically. But 4 in 5 of our 2030 workforce are already in work. So if we want to raise productivity in this country, we need to do more to support those already in work. And since the financial crisis, the rate of increase in innovation has slowed considerably, a weakness that explains almost our entire productivity gap with the United States. So why is this happening? The problem, I don't believe, is any longer what the government is doing. Public sector net investment is now reaching its highest sustained level since the 1970s. Yet capital investment by UK businesses as a percentage of GDP is a lot lower than the OECD average. Government funding for post-16 education is increasing. The Prime Minister has announced a lifelong learning entitlement alongside a plethora of new skills interventions like skills boot camps and T-levels. But UK employers and businesses spend just half the European average training their employees. And over this Parliament, we in government are delivering our pledge to increase public investment in research and development by 50% to £22 billion, making us one of the largest investors in R&D. But business investment in R&D as a percentage of GDP is again less than half the OECD average. So in other words, further government action can only take us so far. We need you, the wealth creators, the entrepreneurs, the leaders. We need you to invest more, train more, and innovate more. And as I've said previously, our firm plan is to reduce and reform your taxes to support you to do all three of those things. That is the path to higher productivity, higher living standards, and a more prosperous and secure future.
Now, what he said there is really, really important, because one part of the stagflation equation is low economic growth. And one of the ways that you're able to stimulate economic growth, I'm going to oversimplify this, guys, is by getting business to invest into their business. So maybe hire more people because they're, I don't know, maybe producing more products, or, you know, research and development. There's a number of things that you can actually do. The idea is by getting business to invest, you are hopefully going to be able to increase wages, you're hopefully going to be able to create jobs, and what that basically means is that you're going to have more disposable income in the economy that people will then spend. That then in turn helps with economic growth. And again, that's oversimplified, but that is the general premise of the idea of what he's trying to get at. Now, in exchange for that, he's offering a tax cut to business. Now, will business take this up? We don't know. But this isn't the perfect solution, and it's not a silver bullet by any means of the imagination, because at the end of the day, that's only going to deal with the low economic growth of this equation. We still have to deal with high inflation. Now, Andrew Bailey and the guys at Bank of England are signaling further interest rate increases. And this is a double-edged sword. This is a catch-22, because the minute you start to increase interest rates, essentially what you're going to be doing is you're going to be increasing people's repayments to things like mortgages, so on and so forth. And I've said on this channel a number of times that if you are in a mortgage and you're on a standard variable rate or you're on tracker rate, you should be looking to fix your mortgage ASAP. With inflation at 9%, it is very, very clear that there needs to be more significant increases in the Bank of England base rate. Even in the Fed, they are now, in the States, sorry, the Fed are now talking about increasing rates by 0.75%. That would be a significant land shift in their attitude so far and their approach to how they were going to tackle the high inflation using interest rates as a mechanism to do so. But again, it means that you're going to inflict pain. So the catch-22 in this entire conversation here is, well, on one side you've got low economic growth, right? On the other side you've got high inflation. On the high inflation side you increase interest rates, which squeezes people's repayments to debt, in conjunction with increased energy prices. That in itself drives low economic growth because people have less money to spend in the economy. So how they're going to get out of this, I don't know. Rishi Sunak is in a bit of a pickle. Is the windfall tax going to be the solution to this problem? I don't know. The fear is if they do levy a windfall tax, the companies might just pass that on to consumers in some way, shape or form. So what do we actually do? I've been following the news very, very closely, and most of the economists feel as though this is a very, very difficult situation to deal with, and I would completely agree. I would love to know what you actually think, though. Do you think that a windfall tax should be levied anyway? And you know what? If the companies decide not to invest in future products, you know, or projects like renewable energy, so on and so forth, then so be it. And that's a really important question, bearing in mind where we are right now trying to wean ourselves off Russian energy. I mean, we're not so heavily relied on that here in the UK. I think only 5% of our energy is from Russia. But what does that do for the future? Because the fact is we need renewable energy right now. We do. We need to invest in our own energy sources. So should we level that windfall tax knowing that they may indeed not invest in the future, or do you think they're bluffing? I personally think they're bluffing. I would love to know what you think. This has been a relatively short video. I'm out and about at the moment, but leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. What should we do? What do you think is going to happen to the economy? Do you think we're going to go into recession? How do you think Andrew Bailey, Rishi Sunak should tackle this stagflation issue? Catch you in a bit.